Hey, this is Angela with Parkrose Permaculture. I'm out running a couple of errands with my eldest kid. We had to pick up some bird seed for her budgie and return some books to the library. And I wasn't intending to make a video today, but right between the bird hut and the library is a destination I cannot resist going to, and it's all outdoors, and that is the local plant nursery. So we're gonna double mask and we'll be outside, but I thought I would take you along and point out a few things that are worth thinking about adding to your garden if you are perusing your local nursery in March, and you have a similar climate zone to us, 8B, and you're thinking about expanding what you've got in your garden. I would love to show you around some of the things that I think are worth getting and see if I might find a few treasures to bring home myself. So,
So we're in the hoop house, which is where they usually keep a lot of their frost sensitive plants. And at the moment they have a lot of greens here and some garlic and onion sets. I'm not going to comment on the garlic and onions. I would much prefer to start my onions from seed in the fall and plant out my own sets. And I do my garlic from bulbs and I plant them in the fall. But all of these chard, beets, arugula, peas, I wouldn't buy those at the nursery. They're very, very expensive, and none of these things transplant really well. Swiss chard has a really great germination rate in the soil, and it does very poorly when transplanted. Same thing like kales. This right here is a broccoli. But kales also direct sow those, and you can get a much better yield and you'll feel more successful. So these are all, in my opinion, a waste of your money, but there's a bunch of other good stuff here. So let's go. So this is something that's definitely worth planting in your garden in March, and that is asparagus sets. I have a really big asparagus plot, and I have Mary Washington, and I have, not sweet purple, but I have another purple variety. Asparagus is something that will live in your garden for 10 or 20 years. When you look for a crown, you want to look for a big, healthy crown and these nice, big, lush roots on it. And they might be a little bit desiccated, but you don't want them super dried out. You don't want fungus growing on them. But this is absolutely a crop you should be purchasing this time of year if your ground is workable. There's more peas. These are things that you can start for a fraction of the cost at home. And they do much better when direct sown. Same for arugula. Definitely the same for beets down here. Much more successful to start those at home. They don't like to be transplanted, and they're really easy and economical to start in your own garden, straight in the ground. Folks often ask if February and March are too early to be planting things like raspberries. Absolutely not. This is the perfect time to be planting your cane fruit. When you are at the plant nursery, you may see your raspberries and things like gooseberries and currants are still dormant, or they're just beginning to bud out. Perfect time to be planting them if your soil is workable. So definitely check out the raspberry section if you need some. Also a good time to hit up your friends for divisions of their raspberries that they don't need, that you could plant in your garden. Our local nursery has an extensive list of blueberry varieties because Portland, and it's the perfect climate to grow blueberries. Again, if your ground is workable, now is the time to plant blueberries. So you want to make sure that your blueberries are starting to bud a little bit. They look good and strong, and there aren't lots of broken branches or dead branches. Here you can see sort of a low bush variety. When you go to buy your blueberries, they will tell you what season they are, and you need to make sure they'll tell you what season they are, and you need to make sure that you are getting pollination partners that are going to flower at the same time. So you want to make sure that you get 2 early seasons or 2 mid seasons or 2 late seasons. Otherwise you are not going to get good fruit set. But now is a great time to be getting those blueberries. Oh, and a question I saw recently was someone had asked, like, how come my blueberry didn't lose its leaves this winter? There are evergreen varieties, so you want to think about how you want your landscape to look. Do you need something evergreen in a certain location and it's still a place that you want to be growing food? There are a number of varieties. Legacy, there's also a variety called Misty and a variety called Midnight Cascade. They keep their leaves. It's also a great time to be planting strawberries. When you buy strawberries at the store, they may still be partly dormant and not look super amazing. That's fine, but it is the time you want to be putting them in the ground. If you order sets online, they may come as a whole bundle in a little tied with a rubber band and look kind of dried out. You want to soak those in water for 24 hours and then plant them out. Perfect time for strawberries. Also a great time to be posting in your local Buy Nothing group, asking folks if they are dividing their strawberries in their beds and get some for free. Another great choice to pick up in March at the plant nursery is rhubarb. So the rhubarb should just start to be germinating this time of year. So you will see just a little bit of greenery coming up out of the crown. Perfect time to be buying it. Perfect time to be planting it. You can plant it anytime November through April, but February, March is kind of the sweet spot when you want to be planting it. The most common variety of rhubarb sold in the United States is Victoria. It has kind of a greenish tinge to it with thinner pink stalks. It's really heat resistant and has a good flavor, but it is not the darkest red variety you can find. So you can see here the crown should look healthy and have some new growth coming out of it, even if the bulk of it is kind of brown. When you plant your rhubarb this year, you may not want to harvest very heavily from it this spring, but by next spring you'll be able to pick quite heavily from it.
So when I was talking about a number of those perennial veggies like asparagus and rhubarb, also they had horseradish. February and March really is that great time to get those kinds of things going in the ground. So if your plant nursery has, like sea kale or perennial broccoli or any of the other kind of perennial veg, Good King Henry, I wish my plant nursery carried Good King Henry because I'm having a hard time finding it, and skirret. Those are two perennial veggies I've been wanting for years and cannot get my hands on, and are also really difficult to start from seed. But if your plant nursery has those kinds of perennial veg on the shelf now, it is a good time to get them going. Don't worry about hard freezes. Don't worry about whether they can handle a cold snap that you've got coming, whether they can handle rainy weather. They can hack it. They like to be planted now. Later in the spring, when temperatures really warm up after May, I don't like to plant any of those perennial veg because they really need that cool weather to get an established root system and get a good, strong start on life in your garden. So if you can find them at your nursery, lovage is another one. It's a good time of year to plant that. That's basically a perennial celery. In terms of the berry bushes, I mentioned the blueberries and raspberries, blackberries, currants, gooseberries, all of those things. You can plant them in the fall, totally fine. If you missed it in the fall, now is the time if they're in at your nursery. Or again, because I'm always really interested in the third ethic of permaculture, which is to share the surplus. If your friends and neighbors are dividing their plants and you can get it for free, great. Support your local nursery, great. But also gift economy, fantastic. Both of those things following permaculture principles and ethics. Some of the things I don't tend to plant in the spring, even though they can be readily available, are fruit trees. I really like to get those fruit trees going. A lot of them in the fall, particularly stone fruit, I feel does better. Anecdotal, kind of, I don't have any strong data to support it, although a number of orchard enthusiasts that I know also agree that it's best to get stone fruit going in the fall and give it that whole winter to kind of chill out and get established. It does better. But if you are tempted to plant a fruit tree, March is not the worst time to do it. So I hope you enjoyed looking at a couple of things with us at the plant nursery. I'm going to go home and get some more yard work done. I'm sort of sad that I didn't find anything new to put in my garden today, but also it's really easy for me to buy things and then get home and not really know where to put them because my garden is really, really full. So I enjoy making room, but also that can be stressful. So save a few pennies, didn't buy anything. but also don't have a fun project for this afternoon other than spreading wood chips. So thanks for watching and hanging out with us, and I'll be back soon.